Hello, and in today's video we are doing an FPL review of game week number 7. That's right, this was the week that I hit my wild card, and it was a big week. I needed a lot to go well for me, but I can reveal, people, we got the green arrow and we got some big hauls. In terms of your kings of game week 7, Tim Krul, who'd have thought that? Norwich not usually getting points, but of course in the last game week, you know, I don't think many people would have backed them against Burnley, but fair enough, it was a 0-0, and fair enough, he made some saves. So, yeah, they actually get a clean sheet for once, but it's not going to happen often, and they still can't score goals, so they're pretty much 20th at this point. Llorente, alright, fair enough, scored against Watford, but didn't see that one coming. Chalobah gets another goal for Chelsea, he's having a great season, and Azpilicueta did the bits for our team. And as you can see there, Joao Cancelo is also looking very attractive for going forward. For this week, we'll talk about his lack of points. Taylor as well for Burnley. We mentioned that Burnley game, just bonus points galore, really. Salah does what he does. It's Man City, but he doesn't care. Even in those big games, he's a big game player, and he just basically turns that Man City defence inside and out. Just absolutely majestic dribbler of the ball. Is he the best forward in the world right now? That's a big debate. Højbjerg, well, he isn't usually in the goals, but he did place it really well against Villa. Townsend, now he's a man that maybe we shouldn't be ignoring. Is he too good to ignore for his very nice price of 5.6 million? He's quite low in terms of teams selected by, so he's still differential, but he's on great form. But is this form going to carry on? That's the question. With Everton's fixtures, you'd say they're not bad. And he can score against tough teams. Tottenham and City, okay, not ideal. But, all right, from a defensive point of view, Watford haven't been keeping enough shutouts. So you'd think that's a good fixture for Everton to score. And it's kind of up and down until around game week 17 where they face Chelsea. So it's whether you're willing to go for it. And especially with other mid-price midfielders doing well, it's a difficult one to decide. Son Heung-min is also a very viable option. If you don't have Mohamed Salah, then you're basically just deluded. But if you do need another premium, Son is your man, really, because Bruno's really not got that premium quality to him now. He's lost that point potential in the middle of the midfield, and Son still gets it. And, you know, he still provides returns, 2 assists in that Villa match. And, you know, at the end of the day, Son is just on great form for Tottenham. Even though Kane is quiet, Son seems to make up for it. Hwang Hee-chan, he's certainly on my radar at least, because he, with a really impressive 2 goals, is that meaning he's going to be nailed now? Because he hasn't really got the minutes, but now he has. And at the price he is, he's not much of a risk, 5.6 million. So he is one on my radar, and he had a very good game week 7 for those managers that put faith in him. And Jimenez, I mean, this guy is just, honestly, we have no faith in him at all for the first 5 game weeks. And what does he do? He gets consecutive returns. And a goal against Southampton, his first one, obviously so much emotion let out by that moment. And you kind of thought, maybe that means he'll, you know, go on a run and the floodgates will open. But he didn't score this week. However, still, 2 attacking contributions, 2 assists for Hwang, who's linking up really well, a bit like Son and Kane to an extent from last season. Maybe Jimenez could be so worth his price after all, but, you know, confidence is important. We still know he's not 100% back to fully, you know, the player he used to be, but, you know, those 2 returns in a row will give him confidence. So 10-pointer for Rao, and that wrapped up the Kings of game week 7. But let's talk about the Kings and Queens, but basically the kings and princes of my FPL team from game week 7. And as I mentioned, people, this was the week we activated that wild card. So before we do get into the juicy details, let me tell you what I'm going to go through today. I'm going to go through what my team did, what my rank is, and all of those lovely stuff. But I have to say, I'm going to be looking through a range of things. I'm going to be looking through Instagram, and that's basically where I've done some of my reviewing, and Twitter as well. Also, the weekly email that FPL send me. It's always a nice thing to see that, and that will be part of my review. But also, we will be letting you know kind of the differences from that FPL preview that I recorded on my channel, FPL Yellow Army on YouTube. We sent that out, then we kind of kept on tinkering because that's just the beast of the wild card. You have these doubts. You think, okay, no, I should go with that, not that. So I lied. I apologise. I said on my video I wasn't making any more transfers other than maybe one. We made a few alterations, so it wasn't, the most ideal thing. But honestly, it was because I knew there were better options that could creep into my mind that honestly I hadn't thought about. And I was really happy with the last minute decisions I made. Actually, before I made that video with my wildcard preview, I also had made some late substitutions. I think I'd transferred out players on the Friday before I'd filmed that preview. So, for example, for a long time in the week, I had Thiago Silva, and then I swapped him to Azpilicueta, and we saw that in the preview. And also I had, I think it was Bukayo Saka for a long time. And then, thanks so much, Jay, that is, of course, at Stadium of Supports, part of the FPL Juice community and the team. He does the roundup show, and we did that video kind of picking through the best points, and I took those points on board and went with Rafinha over Saka, and therefore we didn't have the forward line of Lukaku, Antonio and Armstrong. We instead went for a bit of Ivan Toney, and then that allowed us to spread funds elsewhere. And also, I originally didn't have Trent Alexander-Arnold. So these are the main two changes from that FPL preview that I sent out. It was Trent Alexander-Arnold because I didn't have him in my original team for that video. But then for the team I had when I was talking about it with Jay, I did have him, but he was on my bench. And that was at the stage where we kind of thought he might play in the game against Crystal Palace. But, sorry, not Crystal Palace, the game against, whoever they played, Man City. He might play, but I will bench him and kind of have him for future matches. And then, of course, we got nearer to the time we realised that he's going to be out for the Man City game and could be out for the next one. So I kind of thought, all right, that's not ideal, but I transferred him back in, right? It's logic because you build a wild card for a long-term team. And actually, although I didn't have him before, I did have him... I had him before, and then I didn't have him in my FPL preview video, but I wanted him back because I thought, actually, to go without Trent is a crime. And I know that he's got this injury, but it won't be that long term, hopefully at least. And I think a lot of people are just hoping that they don't own Trent. If they don't, that he won't come back for Watford. But I've just got this, sinking feeling that he will, and therefore he's still a great asset to own. He's kind of a season keeper, so you've got to have him in there for when he's going to come back in, and it's quite a difficult transfer to make if you haven't got the funds. So I just thought, why not just bank him on my bench? Let's just not think about that. So we originally had Ben White in there because we really liked the Arsenal fixtures for clean sheets, maybe not so much attack and returns, and that's why we swapped out Bukayo Saka, but we did like it for clean sheets. So we had Ben White, but then we thought, do I really want Ben White when actually there are some maybe better options? And that's why we brought in a little bit of Trent just for long-term fixtures. And then we thought, actually, hang on, we do want some kind of way of benefiting from this Arsenal defence, this sturdy, formation that maybe Arteta's now starting to get the right balance of. So what did we think about it? Well, we thought, let's get a little bit of Aaron Ramsdale. So that was the other change. So White out for Trent, and we also did Jose Sarr out for Aaron Ramsdale. And you might think, why have you done that? Because actually, long term, Jose Sarr probably had better fixtures. And I agree with you. But I just had this feeling that Wolves defensively was a little bit more of a trap. And I know that Arsenal was not the most convincing defence either. But I knew that the fixtures would make it more likely for clean sheets. And I kind of thought that Brighton game, could be a tight one. And look what happened, a 0-0 draw. And of course, I was absolutely loving it when Ramsdale got the 6 points. That was what we were looking for. And then, of course, Hendrick goes and scores what they call as the Irish Messi in the Toonami parts. They were absolutely loving it when he scored. But I was loving it as well because Jose Sarr obviously conceded. So it was a great decision. It was also a great decision to go with Azpilicueta over Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva got booked, and Azpilicueta doing the bits for me with 2 assists. What an absolute legend. So here's my legend of the week, the unsung hero of the week. And it's great to see that attacking potential that I knew was there with Azpilicueta actually materialise as he comes into my team. So let's go into my first thoughts and my team for this week. So let's have a look, shall we? Game week 7. here it is. 45 points, people. 45. I will take that. I will. Honestly, I don't mind it. So 444 overall points, as you can see on the right there. And we're actually at a decent rank. 532,890. So we're going to go through player by player, and then we'll talk about everything else that I've kind of collated together to review this team and to review this team going forward. Because I think what I've done is I've been clever. I've not changed a lot in my wildcard. It's easy to think you've got to change everything. But I think I changed about 12 or so players. And we kept in Livramento. We kept in Mohamed Salah. We also kept in a little bit of, what was the other one? Lukaku. Oh, sorry, no, we didn't have Lukaku. We kept in Antonio because we brought him in for that game week 6 fixture against Leeds United. And we've also kept Ben Foster, which I didn't expect myself to do. I said that in the caption of my my preview that I kind of forgot that I'd done that, but I had, which kind of went against what I was explaining before. But the reason for that was, long term, are you going to get a 4 million goalkeeper that's going to probably have a 50-50 chance of playing some weeks? Probably not. And I know that Ben Foster is bench fodder. I know that his fixtures are very, very difficult. But, those are teams against hard opposition. He'll probably get more save points. I won't play him every week. But, it's just an option. And we want to kind of limit spending money in the goalkeeping department. And that's why we went with the cheap Aaron Ramsdale, 4.5 million, and the 4 million Ben Foster. And yeah, I was loving that, really. So in terms of Ramsdale, right, obviously, that's what we want. It did what it said on the tin, and he actually did play really well in that game. And I actually think he got Arsenal out of a bit of a hole in that match because, let's be honest, Brighton dominated Arsenal. Arsenal really didn't show the attacking prowess that they did against Tottenham, nor did they show the defensive, the defensive assuredness that we've seen recently. They did look really good in a defensive, perspective against Burnley, because in that game they had to square up to their physical players. They had to really do the grind and be careful. But they didn't look that amazing defensively. But it was just Ramsdale at the Portugal was always there to kind of get them out of jail. And I'm not going to say that Arsenal defensively are a bad team, because actually, they have got clean sheets recently. But it felt like a lot of the time Brighton were just getting into that final third and they actually were getting past that line of defence. But as I said, Ramsdale had a good game, and 6 points, we absolutely love it from Aaron Ramsdale. Comes into the team and immediately gets the clean sheet. And obviously it was a shame from a neutral perspective to see that game end goalless. But for my team, it was perfect because of the fact we had Saka, because of the fact we had Ramsdale, but then we sold Saka. We wanted kind of that game to just not have any goals because, we thought about a Brighton goalkeeper. We went with Ramsdale, just got, just as much. And actually, we thought about some Arsenal attackers. So to see them blank was almost quite a nice, satisfying thing as well. And it's funny because I watched the Cycling GK Ben Foster video, and it was actually, he saw Aaron Ramsdale just hanging about. So, I'm not saying that's what inspired this transfer, but it's, quite funny when you compare it to that. He's a good lad, Aaron Ramsdale, and I rate him. But certainly he's not been, a transfer that a lot of people have, heralded. They've actually had a lot of criticism towards it, but he could just be what Arsenal need, a bit of solidity. And I mentioned before 4.5. Sorry, he's now 4.6. He's gone up since that Brighton game. So yeah, he's decent. He's a solid pair of hands. And I know the fixtures aren't as good as they would have been for Wolves, because obviously that fixture against Leicester game week 10 could be a difficult one. But it's quite a consistent sea of green. And then I'll probably think about, having a new goalkeeper by game week 14 anyway. So it's not an issue. Some decent fixtures. Hopefully Arsenal can keep that defensive momentum going. Let's move on then to our defence. And the back three, Rudiger, Azpilicueta and Cancelo. Now, let's start with the elephant in the room, Joao Cancelo. And I'm going to say this right now, and honestly, you've got to believe me, because he played absolutely brilliantly in that first half. Like, I was watching the game, and he's that sort of player, he can make you drool with, his attacking threat. He is so good at that. And that's why we went for him ultimately. We knew that this game was going to be a tough one for a clean sheet. But we kind of just thought there's actually just as much chance of this game ending 0-0 as there probably is 2-2 or 3-3. And, 2-2 is how it ended. So I just backed that both defences might cancel each other out, and we've seen that in the past with Liverpool Man City. But what it was actually was that both defences were not perfect, and actually it was like a bit of a basketball game, both teams going back and forth, and actually the more they kind of got into it in the second half, the more the other team spurred each other on. So it was a really entertaining game, great one to watch, and Joao Cancelo, some of his passing, just really, really clever little, passes in behind to the likes of De Bruyne and to the likes of Foden, and you just think there's an assist there, it's nearly there, but it's just not quite. And then the second half comes around, Liverpool suddenly look a different team. Man City's dominance in the first half kind of starts to diminish a little bit, and Salah just starts to run the show. And, getting the booking, not ideal at all. We don't want to see that from Joao, but I guess it's always difficult up against, such a marksman and a tricky opposition player like Mohamed Salah. But then I think the yellow card really did do his, difficulties, not just for an FPL perspective, because he was going to have to defend a lot more, but also for Man City, because it meant that every single time you kind of thought, Joao Cancelo, just get back and don't be stupid. Don't get yourself sent off, because on a red card, like that would have been a nightmare transfer in on the wild card. And you could see it happening, because every time that Salah would get the ball, he'd just drive at Cancelo. And you knew that Cancelo had to be careful. He had to kind of not lunge into a challenge. He had to kind of reserve himself and not go for it that much. That meant he wasn't always winning back the ball, and he wasn't always going for goals. So, second half was a very different story, but it's kind of one of those things, you're unlucky in the respect that on another day, goal in the first half, and then that kind of yellow card is not so much of an issue. And of course, he concedes 2 goals. So it's a shame, really, but I'm glad he didn't get sent off in a way, because he could have easily done with that way that Salah was just basically causing him so many issues. And it's great to see he's still got the attacking threat. He's done it before this season. He can do it again. And good fixture upcoming against Burnley. And we'll kind of do like a mini Game Week 8 preview in this video, but not really drastically. But of course, I will be having my FPL preview properly for Game Week 8. My second week with this wildcard team. That will be coming on Thursday. So that will be probably Thursday night, I'd imagine, because it's, of course, a Friday deadline. And that'll be really good fun. So, do make sure you watch that one. I'm not sure what the first fixture actually is. It might be a saucy one. I think it is Watford Liverpool. Yeah, actually, I say it's a Friday deadline. It's not, but, I might as well get it out early. And that's probably what I'll do, actually, the same thing with the matchup between Arsenal and Villa the following week, because that's a Friday deadline. So it's good to get these videos out nice and early, and good to get these videos out. So yeah, Cancelo, it is what it is, but he won't do that all week, and he's got nice fixtures coming up. It wasn't really a long about this game. It was a long-term punt. It's just that he's got a threat, and it's just not materialised in this game. Now, as per Quetta, this guy needs a big congratulations, because the second goal from Chelsea was absolutely brilliant. First of all, the ping from Barkley was well measured, so well. And then the assist from Azpilicueta, he just drills it across the floor. It's just straight into the path of Timo Werner. And I think he would have been frustrated in the first half, getting that goal ruled out. Controversially, obviously, Azpilicueta was the one that got the tackle in, and it was judged to be a foul. So I was a bit surprised by that. But obviously, the Chelsea defensive double up, it didn't pay off, I'll admit. So my defence from a clean sheet point of view was mixed. Good for the goalie, but not good for the defenders. But luckily, Azpilicueta makes up with it with the attacking returns. And, this guy does have that threat in him. And 6 million, it's a bit of a punt, because not many people would have gone with it. A lot of people went with Rudiger. A lot of people went with Alonso. Fair play if you went with Chilwell and you kind of predicted that Chilwell would start over him, because that hurt a lot of Alonso owners. But Azpilicueta was going under the radar, and I'm actually really happy with that pick. It was a bit of a wild one, but a considered one, and I had reason for it, and that reason was evident, and he really did impress. So yeah, loving that one, to be fair. 2 assists, we will take that, 10 points. And Rudiger, obviously not getting any clean sheet, but there is a bit of an attacking threat there, so he's still good going forward. And as I mentioned, that Ward-Prowse goal, a shame from the penalty and a mistake from Chilwell, actually, but Chilwell goes on to redeem himself by getting the goal to seal off the match. And really, Chelsea do look a good season, a good side this season. But let's hope they can get back to winning ways in terms of clean sheets, because we know realistically the best defences in the league will probably be Chelsea and Man City this season. So that's my thinking for those defences. Right, let's move on to midfield. Now, here I have a very bit of a problem, right? And my reason for that is Mohamed Salah or no one. And that is basically the situation. He is carrying my team at the minute. But let's talk about Salah first, because he was mesmerising in that game. First of all, what a pass that was for Sadio Mane's goal. The vision is just brilliant. And in the game that Liverpool weren't really in, he just snaps into life, and just really clever run from Mane. He always seems to do well against the big six. And I remember, that game a few seasons back, Liverpool battered Man City, and it could have easily been the same if they could have just held on to their lead. Because Mane is just so clinical, as we saw, getting the goals in that match against Crystal Palace. So yeah, Liverpool still so good on the break, and Salah, lovely little piece of assist there. But then again, he doesn't rest on that. He goes for another thing. He gets the goal, and what a goal it is. Contender for goal of the month, and it's only the first couple of days of August. That's just when you know. He has been, October I should say. He has been just the undisputed FPL king ever since 2017, when he was brought in by Jurgen Klopp, and that is just a wonder goal. It really is. First of all, mugs off Bernardo Silva. It just is brilliant the way he kind of rolls the ball and then takes a touch, goes round him, and then he does it again to mug off Laporte, takes one touch, then kind of just dilly-dallies past him, he shuffles past him, and that is such a tight angle. Like, that is such a difficult finish, and he gets it bang on. It might just clip the post on the way in, but it just nestles perfectly into the far corner, and Salah is an FPL king. So we are loving that. 3 bonus points as well, just to top it off. And yeah, I'll admit, he punished me for not captaining him, but I did mention it in my FPL preview. It wasn't the most ridiculous decision. He can score against anyone, and he is just that set and forget captain. So, obviously it's harder against bigger teams, but let's just be wary that Salah is pretty much fixture proof. Benrahma, 2 points. Now, this was a frustrating thing, because I kind of think there's a narrative behind it. Against his former team, Brentford, surely does something to, haunt the club. And he looked good in the Man United game. Obviously, look, West Ham were quite up and down against Leeds, and Benrahma did nothing, but I didn't have him for that match. I brought him in for this week. And it's the same thing as a lot of people who brought him in game week 3 and he blanks. And it's the same kind of frustration. Good fixture, but no. In a home match, he doesn't do anything, and it's a shame. But I'm going to keep the faith, because West Ham, you'd say their fixtures aren't ideal, but they're also not the worst either. And Benrahma's still, creating chances, having chances of his own. He had a good one where he kind of just set his sights and it went wide of David Raya's left-hand post. He kind of just didn't quite aim it up correctly. So, yeah, it is what it is, but I'm hoping he'll come good soon. Now, Rafinha, that's a bit of a frustrating one, I'll be honest, because we brought him in because we knew that the fixtures were good for Leeds, and we knew that Leeds, were going to score some goals. It was inevitable against us, but only one. And, of course, Rafinha not involved in it. So, it's a shame, really. He just doesn't really have that week in, week out threat. And I know he always looks good on the eye test, but then doesn't always correspond to points for Rafinha. So, he's a bit of a frustrating one. And now, with the news that Brazil and Argentina's players are probably going to get delayed in their return to the sides, and that means they could be back late. That Rafinha fixture against Southampton, I was looking at and I was thinking, yeah, that's nice. But no, of course I have to miss out that fixture for him. And obviously, with Bamford still a doubt, it's just kind of like, was it worth it? Was it worth it? But I should have really had him for that game week 6 fixture. I thought about it against West Ham and I didn't do it. He scores in that game and he probably won't score again. But he's still good for long term. He's still, for his price, very attacking, and he's good value. But just didn't work this week. Sarr, this is a frustrating one, because at the end of the day, we have to admit to ourselves, we were late on the boat for Ismaila Sarr. Like, we were too late on the bandwagon, because, the optimal time to bring him in, of course, it's that Norwich game. But I wasn't feeling that confident from a Watford perspective, even against Norwich after that Wolves game. So, you kind of think, okay, unlucky, you've missed a 15-pointer. And I think it's about how much patience you have as an FPL manager. Are you willing to ride through a few 2-pointers and then get your 15-pointer and then maybe get a 5-pointer and then another few blanks? Or are you going to want a player that's going to tick along nicely, get 5-6 points most weeks? And Sarr is unfortunately the former. So, I kind of think that Leeds fixture, of course, you want to target Leeds United's defence. They have been really leaky. But we just didn't really put in much of a performance. He had a couple of chances, Sarr, I'll admit, in the first half and in the second half. But, didn't make it into the highlight reel. Didn't really look as threatening as he was, certainly against Norwich, but definitely against Newcastle, where, he kind of pops up for the back post finish. His form was fantastic, and that's why I brought him in for this game. But maybe it was a mistake. I feel like maybe Ismaila Sarr was a trap, especially if you hadn't brought him in, after that Norwich game. You kind of think it was a bit too late. I don't know. It's difficult with Sarr. His points are quite sporadic, and now the fixture run. But the problem I had was I hadn't had the knowledge of Claudio Ranieri appointed as manager. I had Šeško as the manager. I was kind of like, all right, fair enough, the fixtures are tough. But I think if anyone's going to do it in those tough fixtures, it's going to be him. He's our talisman. He's our rising star, or rising stars, pardon the pun. But the point was, with Šeško leaving and Claudio Ranieri coming in, you're thinking, okay, we're going to probably focus on clean sheets now. So that kind of changes our philosophy. It changes our style of play. Will Sarr be, the main target of our attacks and our tactics now? I just don't know. And now the fixtures, all right, you think of it as Liverpool did the bits in the Project Restart against them, and that was just a great one-off match. But is that going to happen again? And then Southampton, even Southampton haven't been the worst defence recently. So, yeah, I don't know. It might have been a mistake, but we'll think about that transfer maybe for game week 8 and see if we can get a better player. But, it's still that kind of Sarr versus Liverpool hype that's making me think, do I just keep him and see what happens in the new system under Ranieri? But yeah, very frustrating to see not just a blank from Sarr, but a yellow card. Doesn't often happen. It seems whatever Watford player I have from an attacking perspective, they blank. Of course, when I put my faith in my team's players, they blank. And of course, they get bookings, just like Dennis did when I owned him. He would love a 1-pointer, and he did it again this week. So I was glad to get him out of the wildcard team for game week 7 to take him out at game week 6. But of course, he did nothing. Another player I was glad to remove out of my game week 6 team was Cristiano Ronaldo. And this was obviously the switch we made for game week 7. So I wasn't expecting to say I was glad to do that, because I was actually a little bit worried about that Everton fixture, because I saw a lot of people captain him in that match. But it was all right, people, because... Oh, actually, no, it wasn't. Okay, fair enough. We blanked all front three. Brilliant. So this wasn't ideal. No, on a real note, it was Lukaku or Ronaldo. If you were going to think about captaining Salah, then fair enough. But they just weren't the best on paper options. And you have to play FPL on paper sometimes because the game's not happened yet. So look, let's talk about Lukaku, okay? That is a frustrating thing. Southampton is the start of a great fixture run. And I think you just have to back the decision. You have to trust the process. It's a good fixture. You have to back the good fixtures. It's just a shame that Lukaku's not getting much of the ball. What can you do about that? He obviously did score in previous games and then it gets ruled out. It's he did it against Man City, and I kind of think sometimes he can score points. And I think he got an assist for Werner and then it was disallowed or something like that. So, yeah, it's just so close to points, but not happening. So... that's been compounded by the international break and the fact that he's gone and picked up a muscle strain for Belgium. Come on, as if my team wasn't already bad enough. The main man, the captain contender for the next few weeks, is just ripped out of the team. Now, I'm not saying he's gone from this team. Of course, he probably will stay. But it's a worry because I don't like players on yellow flags. It is a muscle strain. It's 75% chance. But let's take it with a pinch of salt because, of course, we knew going into that fixture... against, I think it was Aston Villa, he had a muscle problem. And look, he went and played the game. It was all fine. He got a goal. So it's not the end of the world, but it is a bit of a pain. Obviously, you don't want to see captains, blank. And we basically had that all season. But, you got a back decision at the end of the day. And the Salah Hall was the only player I would have really thought about captaining. So I've not missed out on it too much. Antonio... I saw a few people captain him against Brentford. Fair enough. The Brentford defence has been quite good, to be fair. better than I expected, but still conceding the odd goal. And I kind of thought Antonio's going to punish me as well because I didn't captain him. But no, he also blanked, and just not an ideal game for it really for West Ham. Just not as many chances for Antonio as he would be used to. But at least he's still playing 90 minutes. At least he's still, a decent fitness. But we just kind of think, when is he going to drop off? When is he going to get an injury? It's like, is he worth it for long term? Of course, he started the season really, really well, but it's kind of like he's set that bar so high, it's hard to always keep that up. So we'll think about that. And Tony, same game, same result. 2 points, not ideal. Look, at the end of the day, he had a good chance. Fabianski made a good save. But I'm a little bit gutted about Brian and Buemo because, it was a toss-up between those two. I went with Tony, didn't pay off. But you've got to remember Tony's on penalties. And also, Buemo is quite a wasteful player, so he's going to get lots of chances. Obviously, he'll get the odd one in, like he did against West Ham. And it was so close, inches from not being a goal, but just crossed the line after sliding in. So, yeah, Tony's a long-term punt, really. And I think he's just a set and forget, 6.5 million forward option. Obviously, the fixtures aren't amazing right now, but he could still score in them. So, you're just going to take that one, really. So, all in all, pretty decent game week. 45 points. It's 7 above average. The average 38 this week, which is a pretty awful one for a lot of managers. Well done to 102 points this week from the legendary FC Drede, Samir Ronaldo Davis. Did he have Ronaldo in his team? He did not. Elianussi's a bit of an interesting punt, but Meslier with a clean sheet, you don't often see many of those. And of course, Taylor Azpilicueta and a Salah triple captain. I mean, these people, I know they're Liverpool fans, but to triple captain against one of the best defences in the league, you have to have some, balls, basically. And Dobbin, who in the world is that? But he won't care that he's got Dobbin in his front three because he got number 1 of Game Week 7. So, moving on. Let's just talk about what my rank is. It is 532,890. So, obviously, it could have been better. Not going to lie. Salah and Azpilicueta were the only highlights. But Foster did get less than Ramsdale, so I was happy about that. Livramento, look, in hindsight, that's a shame because he gets less than Rudiger and Cancelo combined. More than Rudiger and Cancelo. But, look, it was going to be a tough fixture for Southampton every day of the week. You were going to back Lukaku for the captaincy. I think I saw a few people play Livramento just because of his attacking threat, not because they thought they'd get a clean sheet. And he does get his first attacking contribution. So, really annoying. Livramento is kind of that Stuart Dallas for this season, where he's such a good asset. I love to play him most weeks, but then the fixtures doesn't let me play him. And there's more premium options that I think have to play. So then he's always just wasting away on my bench, getting points, which is helping the whole team, but not helping my team score because he's just not playing, basically, for my lineup. So, yeah, first assist for Livramento. He is really good as a budget option. As a bench fodder, he gets returns, clean sheets, and now some assists. So, he's good for going forward, especially with Rafinha and possibly Bamford not playing. Could that be a clean sheet? But you just don't know with Southampton. It's a bit up and down. Livramento obviously was a bit of a shame, but other than that, no regrets really on the bench. Douglas Luiz, we knew was not going to really get any returns. Although, to be fair, he got more points than Sarr, so, say what you like. And as Trent, in terms of he's concerned, look, we knew he was going to not play. It's more about, can he be back for this Watford fixture? So, yeah, all in all, pretty solid game week. And we did go up by 47,783, so it is massive. It really is to get that green arrow. We hadn't got one since Game Week 5. And we came crashing down back to reality in Game Week 6. 37 points was not good enough. So, as you can see here, this is my season so far. It's not been ideal, I'll admit. The first couple of weeks, you think 71 points, 107 points. It's going to be a good season. But how we managed to still get red arrows through this, I really don't know. And we were just consistent. We didn't drop below, 60 points. And then you're thinking, right, where's that 37 come from? And then 45 is kind of like a bog standard score. Back in the day, that was kind of a decent score. You were happy with that. But these days, when FPL scores are so high, you're not happy with it. So, yeah, 8 points on the bench is not ideal. And to get the game week, rank, it's my worst one other than a few weeks. It's my worst one to get a green arrow from, really. But it's better than the previous one. So 2,036,166 game week rank, and yeah, 444 overall points. So that puts me on a green arrow, and a difference of 47k up to 532k and 532,890. So look, for a wild card, you want to kind of make the difference. You want to make the impact, and we have done that. We've actually changed our ways. We've stopped the rot, and we've actually set our team up nicely for the fixtures. So I'm pretty happy with that. We want to build on this last season. We want to get a decent rank into the top 100k. Look, we're far away from it, but if we can just get some better kind of green arrows in this new phase of matches, then we're well on our way. That's what I will say. But yeah, it is nice to see a green arrow. We don't see many of them, certainly this season, but I'm sure with this wild card, it's going to be a different season. The season starts here, people. That's what I'm saying. But generally, I was pretty happy with this game week. I don't think it could have gone, considering I had a lot of blanks, to get the green arrow, I think I did pretty well. And I think the fixtures just look really nice for Game Week 8 onwards. So let's hope we're on the road to redemption. And I'm going to say that, it's baby steps right now. It's not spectacular, but it's 45 points. So it was much needed. My second green arrow out of 7 game weeks. And, I think that's good enough. From 580k, you kind of think, let's at least see some progress. And we've seen that. So yeah, it's got me back on track. And it could have been more if Cancelo hadn't got booked and, my front three hadn't blanked. But yeah, it's all right. We'll take it. And I also was so glad that, I've kind of dealt with my injuries. Now, I know that Trent is still maybe a doubt and Lukaku as well. But we had a lot of problems with injuries. Like before the wild card, we had Ayling with an injury. We also had an injury to Bamford, and then we brought in Antonio. But that was kind of like, I was worried about the future for my team and who my best kind of assets would be from an attacking perspective. And the fact is, I had no Chelsea assets. So it felt like the right time to wildcard. Was it the right decision? Well, I guess we can only wait until Game Week 8 and see what kind of wildcard teams are looking like and if they're more effective. But for my team, for my personal situation, I think it was the right decision because I wanted those fixtures for long term. I wanted to hop on to Chelsea straight away. And, I think if, Chelsea had done a lot better from that Chelsea-Southampton game, then I would have regretted not going early on them. And I just kind of had a few changes to make that I was kind of willing to do, especially with budget. I wanted to get those price rises. So in terms of in the bank, I've got 0.2 million, 101.1 squad value, but squad value is not as important as everyone makes out. As long as you've got a team you're happy with and that can get points, then yeah, that's basically the foundations of a good FPL team. So Mr. Reliable, Mohamed Salah, he is just going down in FPL folklore. And yeah, of course, Lukaku's frustrating, but I'm hoping with the really good run of fixtures for Chelsea that this guy will come good. Like, surely he's going to come better than Ronaldo or possibly with Kane because they're just not right on form and maybe not with the fixtures. So yeah, I think Ismail Assar is the debate really going into this game week 8, and the West Ham boys let me down. So it was a lot of ups and downs really this game week. But yeah, from it, a green arrow is all I wanted really. And I didn't even have Salah as vice captain, so I can't really complain about Mo. It's just a shame that I missed out on Ben White because I had him in one of my drafts, 7 points. But we kind of made up for it with Ramsdale, and we kind of thought about Decore as well. I'm not going to lie, but got the assist against Man United. And Townsend, is he too good to ignore? I'm not sure. Everton are still up and down. They've still got DCL out and still no Richarlison, but there generally is a lot to consider over the international break, and that's why I've come out with this video now and kind of just get through all of it and really chew the fat, so to speak. So yeah, I'll take that, really, I will. It's not the best game week ever, but it's just as much as I really would have wanted. Like, it's decent. So the question now is, going into this Watford fixture, do we back the early kickoff? Matt McGandhi did say that. No, I'm joking, he didn't. But it's a great little meme basically. Will it happen? Will he score against Watford? I hate to back against my own team, but this might be the exception. Salah is just so good. And yeah, it's great to see that on the rank drop, it doesn't happen for once this week, and we can really go again. And I'm just happy with some of my decisions this game week ultimately. But will Salah beat the Gandhi law? That is the question, people, going into game week 8. So let's do it now. A little small preview of game week 8, and then we will finish up there. I know this has been a fairly comprehensive one, but I just wanted to get these things off my chest really, because there's a lot that I knew that I kind of wanted to talk about. So not just the fact that Rafinha misses game week 8 most likely. It's the same thing for Douglas Luiz. The Brazilian curse is it's really plaguing me. So that is a real bummer, I'll be honest. It's a good game week difference, but we need a big game week 8. Let's be honest. Like we haven't been hitting the heights of good game weeks since game week 1 and 2. So I don't know. I feel like the team on paper is good, but it's just not going ideally to plan. And I think that Vardy is one I'm looking at. I'll be honest, because he just looks so consistent. But the thing is, right, if I had Ronaldo and Lukaku right now, that decision would be so much easier. But I don't. That's the reality of it. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do, because Salah is obviously the only one that's kind of I'm confident about, and I don't need to do anything about. But then when you look at the rest of my team, there's a lot of deliberations. So yeah, game week 8's fixtures. Let's have a look at them. We've got the first one, Watford Liverpool. I'm scared as a Watford fan, as you would be. Liverpool, the Champions League final winners. They're such a great team. They could still challenge the title this year. We're going to struggle. I know we beat them 3-0 twice in the last 5 years or 6 years or so. But yeah, it's a new look Watford under Ranieri. We're going to be patient with him. Look, I know you're going to say, how long's Ranieri going to last? But even they have to be patient, because our fixture runs are unbelievably hard and any manager would lose those games. So it's about trying to get back an identity. If we can show some good performances in these tough games, then at least that's something to take. But from a FPL perspective, you don't want to own a Watford defender. Like, the chance of us keeping a clean sheet is very low, and we'll probably go and do it now, but it's going to be a bit of a battering, I'd imagine. And then Liverpool, look, Liverpool, we know they're good from set pieces. We know Watford are bad defending set pieces. So Trent, Salah, Van Dijk, I'm worried. I am. Villa, Wolves, okay, that's an interesting Black Country derby, but would I actually want to own anyone from there? Well, Wolves, do we kind of trust their defence? I'm not sure we should. Villa, they're not that kind of consistent in terms of form. Leicester, Man United. Now, will Ronaldo start? He should do after getting rested against Everton, but you never quite know with Man United. Man City, Burnley, look, I'm looking for that Cancelo game, and I'm thinking, surely. Norwich, Brighton, I'm a bit gutted to not own a Brighton player, I'll admit, but, they're not going to keep this up, I don't think. Southampton, Leeds, yeah, that could be a bit of an interesting one, especially for Livramento. Brentford, Chelsea, that should be an interesting game, quite an exciting one, hopefully, a bit like the Liverpool game that Brentford got. But I'd imagine, hopefully, a Chelsea clean sheet. I just don't know how good Chelsea can be in these kind of more winnable games. Will they get the clean sheets that we always ascribe them to have? And then Everton, West Ham, that should be a good game, actually. Newcastle, Spurs, look, that could be the time for Harry Kane to announce himself back as an FPL option. I'm not sure. Callum Wilson might be back fit, but I doubt it. And, St Maximan is going to be basically their only threat. But now the takeover's happened, who knows who they could sign in the January window. And then Arsenal, Palace, look, it's basically clean sheet time. So that is my team. It's not making any changes. It's kind of rolling the transfer, perhaps. I don't know. I just need to kind of think about what I'm going to do. I might even transfer out one of the Brazil lads, because, look, I want to have some playing players. And Trent, if he's fit, like, you'd back him. Like, unfortunately, you'd back him against Watford. So that is my FPL review and FPL preview done. I hope you have enjoyed. Just a little taster there. I didn't want to give too much away for game week 8, but I've kind of given a few little details. So maybe, yeah, Sarr could be a replacement. Antonio, maybe, if he's going off form, and Benrahma the same. But, yeah, I think we've got to think about this carefully. Got to think about some players in form, like Abdoulaye Doucouré, Andre Gray. Obviously, he's in the championship with QPR, but I'm referring to Damari Gray, and maybe even Jota. Like, Firmino not coming back against Man City was a bit of a shock to me. So does Jota stay in there? Is he still a good option? I just don't quite know. But there was rumours of him an injury for Portugal. So I'm not quite sure if he's 100%. But certainly on my radar, you've got Vardy, maybe Foden, if the Pep Roulette doesn't strike us again. And certainly Hwang Hee-chan and Ollie Watkins look decent forward options. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed. As I mentioned, as I said before, it's a nice long one, but just get your popcorn, sit down, relax, commit yourself, and it's a nice extensive summing up of the season so far, really. I've had a bit of an up and down one, mainly down, but we're hopefully on the up now. So we've got to just look up and look ahead. The only way is up. The only way to get my team firing again is for these captaincies to just finally work. So do we go Lukaku v Brentford? Looks the obvious one, but I just don't know really. Anyway, thanks for watching, people. I've been FPL Yellow Army. I appreciate you smashing a like on it. That would be really good. And comment how you got on in game week 7. It was a bit of a dodgy one, I'll be honest. But thanks for watching. The wildcard, pretty successful.